I love those moments when we're not quite ready to start, but everyone quiets down and forces my hand. It's good. Welcome. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. My name is Joey Yao. I am the director of the CLC Performing Arts Center, and it's my pleasure to coordinate the Cultural Thursday program. Before we begin, I want to take a moment to thank the faculty and staff at CLC for supporting this program, as well as those who've made the trek out today to attend. If you have friends or family who could not attend and are not watching the live stream, a recording of this program will be on our YouTube page next week. There will be time for questions at the end of the program. If you have a question, I would appreciate if you would pause to give me enough time to hand you the microphone before you ask your question to ensure that the question is picked up on the recording and for those watching at home. And now I'm honored to introduce our presenter today, author and CLC student, Mary Kharytonova. When Russia invaded Ukraine on February 24th, 2022, Mary's life changed forever. After spending a couple of weeks hiding in her home with her mom, the lack of food and medicine and Russian troops getting closer drove the pair to seek refuge in Poland. In the dead of night, Mary, with a cat in her backpack and a suitcase in hand, walked 9 miles with her mom and best friend to the Polish border. After reaching the border, Mary eventually came to Minnesota, where she chose to study graphic design at CLC. And now in her second year at college, Mary wanted to do something with her friends, family, and those who were still in Ukraine. Mary today will be sharing her recollections on her journey and co-authoring the book 24, a collection of 24 stories from Ukrainians who face terrifying, tragic, and hopeful situations since the war started. And first, I believe we have a brief video. Or would you like to speak first?
I'm actually, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I very appreciate that you all here. So the first huge thank. And I have some, I can tell you a little bit about story how I woke up, and that was, I can say a little bit brief about it. Yeah. So, I'm 26 years old and right now. And when war started, I was 24, and life was simple, perfect, nothing too special, but it was just household and was everything beautiful. I was student of great university. I learned fine art and music. I have bachelor's, I have 2 bachelor's degree and 1 master. I had great church. We just started and it was amazing God way. I was worship leader in the church. So that was very amazing, very full life. And I had a lot of friends and beautiful people around me. We lived with my mom, cat, and cousin in old lovely house. I didn't have my own space. I didn't have bathroom, gas, internet inside, but it was place of my power because my grandfather before World War II built our house, and that was it's not just a house, it's something, it's a creature with memories, with my roots, I felt it so much. So it was my shelter. And all stuff I had there was my lovely stuff, my huge collection of book, my art supplies, my vintage clothes, my avocado tree. This is not just stuff. This is a piece of myself. And be careful and be respectful with your house, with people who are around you, because maybe at the next morning you need to leave everything. 24 February for all of us could be just random date, but not for 33 million people on another side of the ocean. This was beginning of the most longest winter in Ukrainians' life. This is very important actually for me that I'm presenting here on February, because I kind of have flashbacks, because the weather was the same in Ukraine this year. Even sometimes when I go in school today, I was I feel the smell the same. That's something interesting. So I woke up of the big thunder. That was very weird because it was winter, February. On the clock was around 5-6 a.m. I tried to fall asleep again, but I heard a loud sound and recognized that this is not thunder for sure. This is something blew up. I asked my mom by joke, this, is it war? And my mom didn't answer, because she's actually very political, she is very understand politic, and she was thinking about it, and she prepared money. I was no, everything will be all right. All windows were shaking, all was shaking. After that, we heard a helicopter outside who was looking something. I am not sure. Was it Russian helicopter? Was it Ukrainian? But it was something. No one said what was it. That was something. Um, I looked at her and she was very seriously. We started preparing. We grabbed all documents, water, some food, my cat, and we start going to a nearest bomb shelter. So bomb shelter. We were not prepared for war. The bomb shelter for all of you, it's what? That's seat. You have bathroom, you have water that you can drink. That was just like huge block of apartment and it was basement with the rats, with the mouse. It was just cold floor. So the basically like a parking spot, like parking lot, like under, but it was like even worse because no one used that. So I remember we were just sitting and we were like, so if it's someone bombed there, we were just like, we will die here. So, and it was very cold. Um, so we started waiting, and after we knew that Russia blew up the big weapon shelter near our city, like 24 kilometers near, it's like to Niswa. That was huge with a like 4 floors underground shelter. Um, and all of the pieces from weapons shelter was coming to town, so it was just randomly blowing stuff outside. And I remember the one woman was killed near my house, like around like 10 minutes, and it was many people in charge because they was in the car, there was kids, they tried like to serve like to go somewhere and it was just like random. So yeah, it was just a mess. And after that, we decided to evacuate it to a little far from home because it's definitely not a safe place. And our church that our located church, made evacuation, and our pastor took us to village. It was 6 kids and 14 adults in the 2 rooms and 1 cat. We slept at cold floor in jackets. So the house doesn't have bathroom, water, anything like heat. It wasn't heat because it's an old village. Like no one, like in a house and no one lived, and we like need to evacuate someone. They like, oh, you can leave there, and that was just yeah. We was 4 days, and it was like. I remember that one kid, he was like 4 years old and he was so sick. He had like so high temperature and he was like he was just laying on the bed all of the times and it wasn't medicine. And we're like, what we need to do. And I remember that our pastor tried to get medicine and he's like after 3 days he started feeling better, but it was just I don't know. And you see and you can't help anything. And then it was girl, my friend, actually her story is in the book and she has 3 months years old daughter and she is in refugee. So she had war in we had war in our country like 8 years already and she it's like east part. Maybe you heard about Donetsk, Donbass, so Russia already took it and it's already like kind of like Russian part, but just Russian soldiers is there. So she was evacuated for that part of of country, and that was crazy because she woke up like like it's the second war in her life, and she is 22 years old. And I remember she was actually the example for me of the strength because she is a mother. She need to be calm and she need to be like very cold brain. I don't know, cold hat. Like, we were just like, we started like, oh my God, what we need to do? And she's like, I won't go. I will stay here. I have my child. So amazing how people can like, be so grateful. I don't know. At night you can turn on light because Russian army see where it is light, so it's much easier to find people and start shooting to them. So random, like if you can see the map, you can see the light. So it's a city. So all cities was turned on, like turned off. I'm sorry, turned off. And yeah, so we just was. And it's like February. It's very like 6. It's already very dark. So we from 6 p.m. we're just sitting in the dark. So yeah, so you need to be in dark when it started dark outside. The night was much darker there usually the silence was much louder than noise. We heard the Russian soldiers was near to Kiev, and we decided evacuate to Poland because it will be much easier to do it now in contract when Russian soldiers will be in the town. So we back to our town with my mom, and we were like couple days, and after we decided like to go, and I started preparing. We grabbed some stuff. I will read some because my story is in the book, so I will read the preparing moment. So we drove 3 days until the border. It's 14 kilometers, and they tell that we can go by car. 14 kilometers, like 9 miles, I think. So 9 miles. And so we just at the traffic with many people. It was night, cold, 5th March. My Musa, my cat, in a backpack because I didn't have the thing to carry her, so it was just a regular backpack. My mom, my friend Christina, my best friend, and snow was falling, I remember actually. And we will start to going. 6 hours we was going. Many people was there. There was kid, there was families, there was like 3 dogs, 3 kids, 2 backpacks and 1 mother. I remember that was something horrible. Old woman, old man, like some people with just like little kids too. And we came to the border, and it was a huge crowd. So you can see the Poland like there. And it was a huge crowd. It wasn't 100 people. It was like 1,000 people. So you can see the end of the crowd. And if you want to go outside, if you want to go bathroom, if you want a food, if you want to drink, no one care. Is it 6 years old? Is it no one care? It's just the crowd. You can't move. And I remember we was like, I don't know, a couple hours standing like that, and it was like 2 a.m. I remember, and we start walking at 8 p.m. So we were very we were very tired. And we get boarding, waiting for a bus, and came to my very good friend and her pastor from Poland who helped Ukrainians. So there was a house, it was house with the church, so we were just like living with some people there, and yeah. So that's my story. Actually, my mom was living in Poland a little bit, and after my cousin is in Ukraine, and so my mom has twins, and twin died before war. So my cousin kind of like by himself there. So he has something like a pre-cancer. So my mom was like very, very worried about him. So mom decided to go back, and I heard about United for Ukraine program, and I was like, okay, we'll try it. And my American dad, he asked me like, do you wanna come over? Because his mission, impact mission, the impact mission helped a lot to go to the border, to get the bus, to like all of the, like they help us a lot with money and all of this stuff. So yeah, he asked me, and I was like, okay, I'm going here. And mom left Poland, go to Ukraine, and she's right now in Ukraine. She's doing good. Like, she's doing all right. But yeah, and I'm here, my cat in the home too. So yeah, and yeah, because of this, I had really huge, I don't know how to explain, even like shame that I'm here or something, and I decided to do something. I decided to do some fundraiser or something, and because I had so amazing stories from people, like all of my friends, like I'm 26 years old, and all of my college guys, they are right now soldiers, and they are very high level of soldiers. They are like some of my friend from college, he's musician, and he got the order from president. So he like the so high level of soldiers he got, like thank you from the president. So yeah, and I heard about all of the stories, so I decided to write a book. It was random decision, and yeah, so let's look a little bit video about this. So it's kind of like spoiler to the book.
Мною принято решение о проведении специальной военной операции. Ее цель – защита людей, которые на протяжении 8 лет подвергаются издевательствам, геноциду со стороны киевского режима. И для этого мы будем стремиться к демилитаризации и денацификации Украины, а также преданию суду тех, кто совершил многочисленные кровавые преступления против мирных жителей, в том числе и граждан Российской Федерации.
What woke me up was not the sound of an explosion, but sort of an echo, a blurred noise. A phone call tore through the pre-morning silence. I hung up the phone a minute later and started bellowing.
There were very few options. Try to hide among the civilians and wait for torture, or use my last effort to break through the hellish ring that encircled us. The choice was obvious.
Destroyed houses, constant explosions of shells, mines, and rockets, the whistling sounds of debris flying after explosions. All of these sounds merged into a symphony of death that provoked terror.
On the very first day, the Russians captured Kherson. I remember seeing a single Ukrainian tank in the city's central square. It was like the last island of independence, and it soothed my tired mind for a moment.
When this war ends, I don't know what I'll do. I just want to hug my whole family, especially my aunt and uncle. They drink alcohol. I want to tell them that everything is alright, hoping this will make them feel better. When I get back, I will look for my dog, who ran away during the war. I really hope that he's okay.
When I went to work, the Independence Square siren sounded everywhere. The heart of Kyiv, which had been bathed in blood for centuries, has now, in the age of humanism, once again ascended to Calvary. A Calvary of its own greatness in the face of an ugly, hypocritical, lowly enemy who for centuries poured honey into the ears, talking about brotherhood, but who sold us out every time for 30 pieces of silver.
A final glance at my house, an old lovely house that looks pretty among the high-rise building around it. Forgive me. When I was on my way out of the city that lives forever in my heart, it seems as if my house was following me with an echo of, I understand.
On that day, the Latin phrase that had been driven deep into my skin killed an enemy whose continued existence would bring much grief to us. On that day, I learned once again that there are no accidents. There is only Ukraine, strength and fortitude, this damn war, and the red and black ink that lines my life on earth.
We are losing land and people. It's been 3 days now since the invaders stormed into my city. But the war will end with Russia's defeat. I believe in it. I am helping, even if just a little. Glory to heroes. Defend the peace.
The ancient Ukrainian fortress repelled another enemy attack in order to fight again tomorrow. The battle rages on. Every moment we are fighting for our lives. Every night, giant fighter jets terrorize the peaceful people of my native Kharkiv, thirsty for blood and destroying everything in their path.
It was his brigade addressing the president. The words are still echoing in my mind, in memory of those who died or disappeared. And photos. The second to last one was my husband.
I would use words to portray the blue depth of your eyes, which keep me up at night dreaming about them. But I do not write letters to you. Our messages are more down to earth and concern our daily lives. Have you had anything to eat today? Did you sleep well? Any news? How are you? This daily routine is where my love lives, even though it's wounded by the war.
Early the next morning, I said goodbye to my apartment, my favorite possessions, and my past life, and headed for the subway. I had 14 kilometers to walk through the subway tunnels to reach the railway station and the evacuation train. 14 kilometers without stopping, carrying a heavy load.
My wailing sounded as if from everywhere. My life seemed over. I hadn't noticed that the house was filled with people, so many people. I only remember that someone brought me some black clothes, and the day was over.
I wanted to defend my native land and my sunshine girl. The enemy was advancing on every front. The predictions were disappointing, but every one of us, young and old, untrained and inexperienced, would not put down our weapons.
His bravery was well known to me from our peaceful life. His views, convictions, and political leanings were familiar. But what I learned after his death struck my grief-stricken soul.
For a long time, I felt like I was festering. I had dived into the depths of apathy and lost interest in life. When I decided to become useful to people again, I went to a church in Lviv to help feed refugees. As if by God's providence, amidst the dark, cloudy sky of war, my Taya appeared to me there.
An ancient human truth cut into the wicked, uninvited guests in a shower of bullets. All who take the sword will perish by the sword. As soon as the storm of righteous anger died down, we realized that we had lost track of our brother in arms.
In 2 hours, the Muscovites would start bombing my city and my shelter. A slender doctor ran in, panicking and shouting, "Where is the baby?" Thankfully, he had been taken to the shelter earlier along with the other newborns.
Eventually, I told my passengers, I'm going back. We're close enough. But they insisted that I take them farther. I explained I couldn't, as the Ukrainian military wasn't letting anyone out. They tried paying, but I was resolved. I won't take your money. You'll have to walk.
What they leave behind in our villages can't be described at all. But here is what they do when they invade. They take away our local diesel, gasoline, phones, and cars. Whether they run or not, either way, give it up, or we take it, along with your life.
It was exhausting, both physically and mentally. We received about 200 to 300 calls per day. This was my main activity for the entire month. Often our buses went directly to people at locations under shellings. We mainly rescued the old and sick, or those who didn't have any other means to leave.
They put me in a large black bag. I saw those from the supermarket, where Mama and I went to buy diapers for the last time. It didn't feel scary to be inside the bag. It didn't feel like anything. They buried me with Mama. Now I will always hold her hand with my little cold hand.
The explosive wave tore off my tactical headphones and twisted my helmet. The only thing I remember is a momentary flash of light and a feeling of uncontrollable flight. One of the fragments entered my left side, which became instantly paralyzed. My helmet still contains 3 mementos of Russian brotherly love.
Yeah, so this is the video, and it's like a short part of each story of the 24. Okay, and I will tell you a little bit the process about how we did it. Sometimes in order to create something, you don't need to invent, search. You just need to listen carefully. Life writes, and you accept. Life before war was difficult, but what the war brought to the lives of my people and loved ones turned everything upside down. There is no one who does not cry at night. There is no one who has not lost someone, and these stories are constantly in front of my eyes. I see, I'm listening. I cry with those who cry and rejoice for those who feel better. I miss those who are gone and look forward to meeting those who I will definitely see. That's how the idea came to write all of this on a blank sheet of paper and at least pour out a little bit of my endless emotion from my overwhelming soul. In December 2022, I had an unplanned idea to write a book. And at the same second, I said to myself, yes, the world needs to hear it, people needs to see it. Then I told this idea to my father. He said, do it. I'll help you with that. Do it. I began to mentally prepare and think of a plan of action. I had a friend in Ukraine who taught me Polish. In one of the lessons, she asked me how I was doing. I just sharing my plan, like in the Polish language, because that was the lesson. And she's like, okay, sorry. It's not about Polish. I'm an editor. I'm a writer. Do you want to help? Do you need help? Like, do you want that I'll help you? And I'm like, sure, yes. And let's do it together. She is professional editor and writer in Ukraine. She has a 1-year-old son and a husband who is now defending our country from the aggressor in the east. Regardless of me and her employment, I studied at CLC while completing my master's degree in Ukraine. She worked as a teacher at school, taught Polish, and raised her 1-year-old son alone. We worked day and night. I found people I knew and asked their story. My main job was to interview them and write down everything they said. There were a lot of people, and all of the stories were painful. After that, we called each other with my editor, with my writer, Sophia, and took up the stories. So the words obeyed her so well and fell in the right order like little soldiers fighting to be heard. Time passed quickly, and we did not notice how it was getting dark and it was time to sleep. She often cuddled her son or nursed him while working. During the blackout, when Russia shut up the power grid and there was no light or communication through Ukraine, she miraculously found the internet and called. That's how they worked. In April, we almost finished everything, but on the 28th, like April 28th, Russia struck the civilians of my city. 22 people died, including 6 children. Sophia lived in the house next door, and it was a miracle that this time the grid passed us by. Then we understood more than ever what were we doing. We were documenting all the activities of a terrorist country and let the whole world know about the ugly feature of the Russian army. By chance, one day I met my American editor Stephanie, who is an ethnic Ukrainian. Actually, I met her here in CLC in a campus, so it was very interesting. She offered her help, and now we have a clean version ready. Many thanks to Impact Mission, with the help of which I have real copies of my project. When I interviewed people, so I'll know all of these people. So 24 stories is not random people. The people that I know, that's my best friend, my cousin, my neighbors, someone. And and they don't know each other. I just know them. That's why I'm like asking them. So without knowing each other, they met. And all of this, like when I interviewed, it's turned into one great pain and pride. A hero, a soldier, my friend, who was on the outskirts of Kherson, was noticed by a girl who was in Kherson, and she's my friend, and she was walked by a street at the same time when they like see each other. That was like that's impossible that they meet, but they met. Definitely that was him because there was only one tank and it was his brigade there. So the person who was evacuated, the international guest, unexpectedly for me, evacuated a family from Popasna. And they are just connected and they don't know each other. So it's probably more that they didn't tell me that. So I'm sure that it's something more. 24 stories, 24 tragedies. So Russia can only bring destruction and grief to my land. All thought it will never take any courage, will, unity, and love. While I'm here, enjoying myself and living my life, someone gave his, so that's when I return after this endless journey. I will see my native walls and count again how many shadows are hiding on the ceiling of my room in the evening, so that I can again see passengers by through the window of my room and guess from their clothes whether should I wear a jacket today or not, and so that the scariest thing that will happen in my house will be my memories. I stand only because it leaves my country. So I will read a little bit from from um, the book, like from my story, and my story is a comfort in a crack. Okay, so yeah, after we will return with my mom from the village. There was not my city anymore. It had emptied quite quickly. Before the war, my eyes often glanced at the apartment building next door. I look at the neighbors' brightly lit windows. So many different lives are going on. Someone's in the kitchen cooking. Someone else has put on a string of lights. Happy living. I often wondered who they were. Now things were different. People were leaving the city almost every minute. Looking out the window, I could not see anything beyond my nose. Dark, quiet. The darkness was unnatural. It seemed that all the monsters of the world were hiding in it. I was begging my mom to leave, and the medications she so desperately needed had simply disappeared from her city, which has cut off from the rest of the world. The Russian kept pushing forward. The Kiev region has been practically occupied, and I was thinking that if the enemy entered the city, my mother would not survive. Mom finally agreed. Succumbing to my tearful pleas, she gave in. Looking at my wardrobe, I did not know what to pack. I cried. I was leaving everything that I loved so much. My home is made of memories and mean everything to me. It was an empty, anxious, and painful feeling. I grabbed necessities and warm clothes, my word and stylish green coat, a laptop, and my cat. We left then. A final glance at my house, an old, lovely house that looks pretty among the high-rise building around it. Forgive me. When I was on the way out of the city that lives forever, in my heart, it seemed as if my house was following me with an echo of, I understand. In that moment, my heart turned to stone, like Lot's wife who, after one glance, turned into a pillar of salt. I lost my ability to feel forever. So, but we are alive. Life is continue, and Ukrainians taught me a lot how to, through the grief, be so grateful, be so enjoying. So in the shelter, everywhere they were singing. It's a lot of jokes, it's a lot of still. So I will sing a song, and it's actually old Ukrainian carol. And fun fact, Ukrainians are very good in composers with carols. You all heard about the carols of the bell, and it's actually Ukrainian folk carol. And when Lentovich, the author, came in here in America with a tour, some guy in a theater in New York, he's like, oh, I like this melody, and he just stole it. So right now it's carols of the bell. And it's very interesting because it's kind of like winter song. But in Ukraine, like when you will see the original lyrics, it's about spring. And if you will listen the sound like dun da da dun dun da da dun, it's not bells. It's a sing of the bird. Na 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 na. So it was very interesting and how it's turned to the bells. So okay, this is the Jesus lullaby. So I love it. It's very old carol.
Спи, Ісусе, спи, спатоньки ходи, я тебе колисати, пісеньками присипляти, люлі, серденько, люлі, люлі. Спи, леліко, спи, головку склони, ти на рученьки Марії, бач, вона тебе леліє, люлі, серденько, люлі, люлі. Спи, убогий, спи, рученьки зложи, Йосипа ще не видати, неси хлібця тобі дати, люлі, серденько, люлі, люлі. Спи, терпіння, спи, очка зажмури, не питай, що колись буде, що зготовлять хрести люди, люлі, серденько, люлі, люлі. Спи, зірничко, спи, спи, про небо сни, слава Богу, вишніх буде, тут на землі благо людям, люлі, серденько, люлі, люлі. Спи, Ісусе, спи, серце відтвори, най на ньому спочиваю, тут на землі і там в раю, люлі, серденько,
Thank you. That was a lot of my story. So I wanna that my Galina helper. She's actually made beautiful cake and she helped me a lot with the Judy. Actually, Judy, thank you so much. So I wanna ask you for a stage and I wanna read one more story because it was a lot from me. So I wanna that she will read a little bit different. And it's a 16th, yeah? It's a 16th and that's actually very painful story because I know this family and this is about, he is actually the guy who gave the story. He was talking about his father and the father was died on the east and the hardest part of it, it's not about it. He died for sure, this is the hardest part, but the family can't bury him like in the ground because that was just so huge explosion and it was the pieces and that was very lovely family and yeah, it's about him.
It's the story number 16, In the Dark. On the day of the full-scale invasion on February 24, 2022, my father was at home with us. The next morning, he chose to go to the military commissariat. The following week, he went there daily to build barricades and reinforce military posts. The city of Uman is not a frontline city at all, but when the enemy tanks headed to Kiev through the radioactive zone, even we had to get ready to resist. In early March, Dad joined the 27th Reactive Artillery Brigade, named after Kazakh chieftain Petro Kalnyshevsky. He served as a driver and mechanic, delivering rockets for the Urahan multiple launch rocket systems. His bravery was well known to me from our peaceful life. His views, convictions, and political leanings were familiar. But what I learned after his death struck my grief-stricken soul. My father, Vadim Ivanovich Ishchenko, defended our country and performed the most dangerous and reckless duties. But they were the orders of the high command. In total darkness and risking his life, he fearlessly headed to point zero of the front line because brothers in arms required munitions. More than that, for valor and military honor, he was awarded posthumously the Order for Courage of the Third Degree. His fellow soldiers remember how much he cared about the younger soldiers and took the hardest work upon himself. Let the kids take a break. He had 2 sons back home. I will never forget my dad talking me out of volunteering for the army. He said he would go and that I should stay at home and take care of mom and my brother. I will never forget how animated and excited he was while packing for the long trip to the east. Perhaps if his mortal path ended on front lines, it would hurt less. On May 12, 2022, in the pretty little village of Shebelinka, he and a few dozen fellow army men were killed by a Moscow-sent missile strike. A few hours before his death, he asked me, his eldest, to pick up a new book from the post office and told his wife he loved her. That missile strike was masterfully coordinated by a local woman, a traitor, someone's grandmother, mother, or sister mercilessly killed the Ukrainian warriors of light with her evil mouth. They say there should always be a balance of good and evil in the world. But what can I do to stop someone who is determined to run toward the dark?
Thank you. So if you have, I believe that this is like a part with the questions, yeah? So yeah, if you have any questions, I'll be very happy to answer it, and yeah.
Hi, and thank you for everything that you're doing
Thank
here.
you.
The question I have is, was there any preparation prior to the invasion by the Ukrainians? Like you said, one morning you woke up and
Are you
storm.
talking about me or a country? About me?
Yeah, you and the country.
So the month before, there was a random thing in the TV that like, oh, emergency back. And no one said, because like if government will really say that this is invention or something, there could be panic, and I understand them. But they try and like grab your documents. Maybe it will be something emergency, but it's not something like, they try and like be safe, be careful, everything is all right. And but for me especially, that was kind of like a joke, because 21st century, who, Russia? I'm a half of Russian. My neighbors in Russia, my neighbors in St. Petersburg and Moscow, like all of the father side, they are from Russia. It's like, it's impossible. It's impossible. They had, of course, we had a problem with this country, but the thing, it's like something impossible to do it. And my mom was kind of like, we needed money. So we took a little bit money, we had I don't know, there was $300. We had something, but because something, maybe it will pump up something, but not too serious, But yeah, no one will ready. No one will ready. No one will believe even, with that. Someone was very serious, yeah, it will be. It will be. But we're like, nah. My mind was kind of close it a little bit, so. I was like, I don't want to. If it will be, we'll figure it out. Or I will die. That was literally, or I will die. Okay, that's my destiny. Thank you for this question.
So, on your journey, did you have any interactions with
either of the military from Ukraine or from Russia?
So in the first, I was like in my house during the war, like 2 weeks, and it was Russian soldiers. So some of random soldiers with the guns, yeah, they were on the street. And so it was a rule in our town that you can open doors in the dark or someone random, because we heard that some Russians like could like do some very bad stuff. So it was like but yeah, it was some fights on my street, literally like in my street, with the Russians and Ukrainian soldiers, because before war, like 2 months, that was like hided Russians was there. They were like rent apartments, and on the day, like 24th, they start coming out from the apartments, like from the place they were before, and they started like doing mass in a town, like in almost each town in Ukraine. So yeah, that was my friend. She actually my neighbor, so she saw it. This fight with them. I most of the time I saw my like Ukrainian soldiers, not like different one. They are nice. Yeah, for sure, because that was like most of the time the Ukrainian soldiers that I don't know the 70% of it's the civilians who join army in 2024th of February 2022nd year. So yeah, that's only what I had in my life.
Yes, I'm curious what you and your friends and family would think the reason that the Russians invaded were.
Okay. So that's a very old conflict. So I told you, the eight, like already it's actually I believe it's like 9 or 10 years already that Russia occupied Donetsk and Luhansk. This is two part of Ukraine. We have 24 regions, and this is two part. They took it, and Crimea. So Crimea, it's like the Iceland. So I'm like I just say from my side or something, yeah. That was long when we separated from the USSR. That was already problems with Russia. They already like, oh, haha, you wanna be by yourself? We don't like it. So okay, you'll be like that. You'll be like that. So we always Ukrainians always wanted to be independent, and that was actually the best part. Like we had beautiful country started like growing, country started doing great, and that was they wanted the Donetsk and Luhansk, and they occupied it when started, and it was so far away from me. Yeah, like because and I was like 14 years old. I was like, okay, yeah, but this is like I'm not politic person. It's so not right. People, we are all politic because we are in country. So if you think that you are unpolitical, that's not right. You need to be political, because that's the problem what was in Ukraine. 9 years old, this started, and my fault that I didn't do anything. I was 14 years old, but I still can do something. I still read, I still do. So I think the problem that we were not too focused on this side, when Russia occupied this side, and after they wanted more. That's what I noticed it, because the country or up like Russia, when they took regions, they are just destroying everything. So they probably like angry, because when there was Kiev region, I had a lot of friends from them, and that was just a mess. So they stole everything. They stole like washing machine, knives. I don't know. That was like cops from the apartment, and it was a TVs, because my friend, he was from Kiev region, and he has like very fancy apartment, and he came up to apartment, and they can stole the TV, like they can, because it was so huge, so they put the knife on, like in the TV. So no, if if we won't have it, you won't have it too. So that was what we felt. That's the thing. They just, I don't know, they just want more and more.
Mary, thank you so much for all you've done and for sharing so honestly and everything you've done here at CLC. We're really very grateful. I'm curious about what you'd like us to know about the culture of the Ukrainian people.
Okay, that's a very good question. Actually, so I'm in a traditional Ukrainian T-shirt, and this is from the Ternopil region. It's tradition of the Ternopil region. I'm from Cherkasy region, so I just had it before work. So that's my favorite T-shirt. It's like lucky T-shirt. I always wearing this if it's something very important. And very important things that all 24 region has own pattern, and it's very different. Like, you know, so all 24, you can see, oh, yeah, this is from Crimea, or this is from the east or west. So that's very important. Ukrainians very love singing. Ukrainians very love singing. If it's sad, we're singing some songs. If it's very funny something, we are singing songs. So that's very important. Like all of the weddings, so like, you know, it's always with the songs, like actually folk songs. So it's very important. Oh, our food. Our food. You should all try borscht. Maybe you can find a Ukrainian restaurants. I heard that in Minneapolis they have try borscht. It's like beet soup, but it blow your mind. It's very good one. Yeah. We had very actually different food like here. I don't know. My mom actually usually eating watermelon with bread. So yeah, you know, it's a lot of, and it's very good. Actually, try all of you. Try with it. Actually, with the black bread, like you know, this one, I don't know how it's like full, whatever, the darkest one. Yeah, try it. It's very tasty.
Mary, you mentioned about politics and that we all need to be mindful of that aspect of life. And you've seen what is happening here with American politics. Our congressman in Duluth has voted repeatedly against Ukrainian aid, and now all aid has been discontinued. How do you feel towards Americans when you see this abandonment of support for Ukraine?
I think without America, the war could be very failure. So the beginning of the war, America helped a lot, and all Europe helped a lot. So without this help, we can't do anything. Like really, we could just, we won't have like any military stuff. So yeah, and right now, particularly like for here for Ukrainians, you're asking here, or just like in general the help. I still feel like I think that was our fault, like a country, that we won't prepare too much, but they did the best. Like really, the country did the best. So I'm not blaming, but I think like I'm here. I don't have any actually help anymore. Like I have just like my like documents and insurance and all this stuff, and I'm actually very happy for this because like I want to set up my life by myself, you know? So this is kind of like better. And it still helps, like America's still helping and Europe's still helping. So I think everyone should help. It's not about and country, like, you know, because most of the times, like all our fundraiser for military, for army, they're doing just people, just like my friends or something, you know? So that's how is actually army working. Like, think about you, what you can do. That's actually what war, like Ukrainian war, showed me. You need to think you need to support. Don't think the country will help. Don't think that everyone will help. No, you help. You can literally help, like, I don't know, the diapers that you know that yes, someone's like don't have, like was in the beginning of the war or something, or you know that someone is like right now suffering because they don't have money, yeah, because in the beginning war was that, and everyone helped. Everyone was like a huge organism, and they like, oh, I have this. I remember that we have like 2 pills with my mom, like the last ones. They're like, I give you one because I have one. So you know, that's how it's worked. That's how it's helped. So yeah, I'm thinking about that.
It's not as heartfelt, but like when you first moved here, what was like your biggest cultural shock factor? Like, what were some of the things you enjoyed and some of the things you didn't quite so enjoy?
That's a very good question. Thank you for that. The first, like I remember memories that I came here. I was in the airport, and the policeman, I believe, who was like checking the self, how's it called? Security. Yeah, security, whatever. And this guy, he like took my passport and he was like, how are you doing today? And I was, after like 24 hours of the flight, and I was like, how am I? And because like years, like this is the common thing. They don't need to ask you how are you feeling really. And I want to say, it's like, oh, you know, I left everything. I was like not sleep at all. My country in war, it's bombing. Thank you for asking. So that was in my mind. That was in my mind. We usually, Ukrainians not doing that actually. They are not. They like, hi. We not care. If Ukrainians don't care about you, like it's literally like we're not too nice. We're like, hi. We don't care how are you. If I really don't wanna ask you how are you. So for me it was like the security guy, I was like, I'm good. Thank you. And I was like so impressed. And the people like who like take all of my like fingerprint, like you know, all of this process, they were really nice. So America is really nice. If you think that America is not nice, you should go to Slavic country. Because we are like very straight. If I don't like you, I don't like you. If I like you, yes, you can see it. So yeah, but really, actually in general, the culture is very, very, very cool. Very, I don't know, you're caring about community. That's really nice. That's what I wanted in Ukraine too. Right now it's much better because of grief, unfortunately, but we are learning. That's the, like, you know, that's the life. So we are learning. Now it's better, but here is perfect. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mary.
Thank you. Thank you.
And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us today. We do have a treat for you, generously provided by Galina and Mary and Judy out in the lobby. We invite you to join us for some cake and tea. And if you have any additional questions for Mary, she'd be happy to take them. Thank you for coming. Enjoy the rest of your day.